Yeah. Yep. Well, thanks, as always, to the great, fantastically magnificent Stone Loki for that amazing intro that he made for me. I use it as an intro and an outro. He's just extraordinary. And I had a great time being on Loki's great show last night. It is, of course, seven kinds of mischief at night, and of course it's Loki and his morning show. Of course, it does every morning as well. And please check out his channel. He is there's a link to it in the description below. There's a link to a lot of great channels in my description below, everyone. Welcome to Clobberin Time, issue number Clobberin Times. That is now. We're Clobberin Times now, so we still need to get used to that after 11 years of being Clobberin Time on Blog Talk Radio. But this is number 42, actually number 742 of Clobberin Times. And this evening, we'll just here to kind of chill out, as the kiddies say. And I want to thank, of course, Eastland Burkholder popped in, but I hope you were still here. If not, I hope you will pop in later. My great friend Charles McGrath. Charlie, always great to see you, my great buddy. Eric K, the great Eric K, one of the great old-time masters of the wrenches. Always good to see you, my friend. Keely Chow, thank you for stopping in. It's great to see you here. I'll be joined fairly soon by a guest I've never had before, who might be popping in. I believe Mr. 32 Flavors of Nick Weiser might be popping in with me in a little bit. Just going to do some, just like the old days of the open geekness, I kind of miss this. Eastland, thank you for being here. I kind of miss just the free-flowing stuff that Flash and I used to do at least once a week. We averaged once a week back in the old BTR days. It's really sometimes I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out a good day to do it regularly. I thought tonight would be fun because, again, it's the night before Thanksgiving. I thought there weren't going to be a whole lot of people on. About when I decided to go ahead and do this after all tonight, I didn't see very many people scheduled. And then they just all, I don't know, a lot of them seem like they throw up their scheduling at the last minute. I'm still not used to all this, the way this works here on YouTube. But, that's okay. We'll have, it'll just be me. But it'll be fun because it'll be you as well, my good friends. And hopefully, Alex, I think Nick might show up, my friend that I've been on with him, I think, on some other shows, but I have not talked to him yet on mine, and I think he's a comics fan, so we'll probably talk a little bit of comics and things like that. I had a great time Saturday night talking all things Legions of Superheroes with my great friend Carlos. And I realized, as I do a lot of these times, these ambitious, and I hope you're all hearing me. I hope you're all hearing me fairly well. Again, I don't have any way of checking sound, but my microphone is weird. This new one I've got here. So I don't know what if my sound is good or not. I'm going to get a new microphone though. Let's see. Were you all hearing me? Because I think I've had to make an adjustment. So please let me know if you are. I know there's a lag time here, but I guess I'm being heard. But yeah, I know you heard. Of course you heard me because you answered me, Eastland. So I just don't know if the sound's any good or not. I'm working on that. I'm just trying to get a better. I need to get a better microphone. The one I've got, I'm not happy with. Oh, well, thank you, Eastland. I appreciate that, sir. Thank you, Eric. Thanks, buddy. Good to see you, my friend. It's always good to see you, Mr. Eric K. Absolutely, man. You keep busy in those things. Thanks, Charlie. Appreciate it, brother. Long time, buddy. Man, dude, Charles and I go back to the old Trek Space days, the old 08, 09 Trek Space Wars over the Jar Jar Abrams filth. And, of course, in my blog talk radio days as well. Mark with a C. Thank you for popping in, my friend. I'm glad to see you. I'm honored to see all of you popping in here tonight. Thank you so much. But yeah, I guess I'm not really sure if this mic's any good. It doesn't sound good when I listen back to it. It doesn't sound that good when I go back and listen to these things. And I don't know, but if it sounds fine to everyone else, that's good. I still want to get a new one eventually, but I appreciate that. And I just I don't know. I'm trying to think of some topics, trying to find a good day to settle on. But we all know it's crowded, out there, and a lot of people with far more established. There's a lot better shows than myself because all I'm doing is geeking out. A lot of people are out there talking about the relevant issues of the day, which I'm very interested in, of course, like anyone else. But I just kind of just want to keep it fun. I do have a guest though, a gentleman I have not had on before, and I want to thank him. I'm going to put him on right now, Mr. 32 Flavors of Nick White. I do believe I pronounced that right. I hope. You there, man?
Yes, sir. I'm right on here.
I'm not hearing you.
Hello? Do you hear me? I think you gotta log me in.
What's going on there, bub?
Hey!
I see you.
Yeah.
But I'm not getting any sound.
Not getting any sound.
I'm told that I'm being heard.
Okay.
I can't know, man. Sure. Gotcha. Well, yeah, I don't know what the deal is, but he'll get it worked out because he's been doing this a long time, I would imagine. He's been doing this a while now. Let's see here. Yeah. Oh, well, they said that they heard you, but I can't hear you. I don't understand. Hang on a second. How about now?
Testing. Check one. Check one.
I got you now.
All right.
Man, I have a terrible headset here. They hear you. I hear. Well, thanks, man. I'm a tech ignoramus here, man. This is me. I'm glad it was on my end of it because I was worried there.
It's okay, dude. No,
I fixed it though.
We're good, brother.
How you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you doing?
All right. Thanks for joining me, man. I appreciate it.
I'm glad I caught the link. I'm like, you know what? I've been wanting to chat with this guy, and I saw he had open Geek Talk. I'm like, this could go 100 different ways. I'm gonna ask this guy, see what he's got going on.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Here we are. So cheers to that, my friend.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Like I said, I just I know there are a lot of people on tonight, probably, but it didn't look like it earlier. Now it looks like a bunch of them are on. So just figured, well, we have our own little bitty corner here. But as I was talking a little bit about before you popped in, I was on a format or a platform called Blog Talk Radio for 11 years before this. I moved here. Before I moved here in October. I mean, not October. Listen to me. April.
Okay, so that's when you started.
Yes, and I was. I did it for 11 years, 700 episodes, and back when I started, what it was it's podcasting, but it actually if you have the premium, if you're on the premium thing like I was, or on the actually in the first couple of years they didn't even charge you anything. It was so brand new. I started in 2009, okay. And you get to stream your first 2 hours live. And then if you go an extra hour, it'll record it, and then it goes into an archive type thing. That's how it works. And at that time, there were podcasts, as I'm sure you know. There were the kind where you would record it and you would put it on your webpage, that sort of thing. But that was the only place that was doing any kind of live streaming. Really, there weren't too many. There were a couple others, Podbean or whatever, and a couple different here and there. Well, that radio was actually seemed pretty big at the time. I mean, there were a lot of people on there, even though most people haven't heard of it.
Hot dog, dude. No, I mean, damn. So you've been at the game for a bit now. I mean,
yeah, 11
years, bro. Woo,
yeah, it's just having fun with it. NB Geek, let's talk. Hey, man, NB Geek, let's talk. It's for the first time popping in. Thank you for being here, sir. I'm familiar with you. We've been on a couple streams together, I think. But yeah, so I did it for a long, long time there, and my son has been on my case to move to YouTube for about 2 or 3 years, and I wouldn't listen to him.
How old's your son?
He is 32. 31. I'm old, man.
How appropriate.
I'm old, buddy.
Oh, yeah, that's all good, man. Hey, I'm a dad too, but I'm 33. I turned 30. I was 32 a few months ago, but here I am. Yeah, now I'm passing the legacy of all the geek talk now to my little minions now, and
Well,
it's
that's
great.
good.
It's great,
That's
dude.
good.
Yeah, we're watching A New Hope. Like I invested in my two girls, and they actually genuinely like it. So, and they actually like care about like the Clone Wars too. So I'm like, hell yeah. So they're actually invested in these characters. Like they're invested in Leia, they're invested in Luke and Darth Vader. Like they're all like, oh, what's with the Mystique? And I'm like, oh yeah. It's crazy to see them now invested into something that I latched on to over 20 years ago. Not to see them like falling into it. It's just like, wow. It's absolutely surreal. So I don't know what it's like for you as a dad, but like that's got for me. I'm like, bro. Oh, I see Eric K's comment.
Eric K, man, that guy never lets me up. I love Eric K. All because of Gary, and I told Gary this the other day in his member stream. I said, Gary, just because of you, now I can't mention that I owned and I also worked a comic shop without Eric busting my chops over. I love Eric. You're the man, Eric. You know, it sucks to have an old man's memory, dude, because actually my son is going to be 32 in March. So, and my daughter is going to be 33 in March. So yeah, it's old. So I have grown up kids. You will see what that's like one day. It'll be weird because yours are how old now?
I got one that's just turned 7 a few days ago, and one that turned 5 a few months ago. And one's a speed demon; she's obsessed with it, and the other's a lot more mellower.
Well, I'll tell you this, man. You really, really savor those times because one day, about a few decades, they're going to be talking smack to you and trying to push you around, and you're going to go, "Wow, that was once my sweet child."
That's one already is, bro. Who you trying to kid? The smaller one already is. She's sassy. Like we'll be on the couch literally watching like Star Wars or Spider-Man. And she'll try to like shove me. She's like, move your butt, daddy. I'm like, oh, here we go. You're 5. You're telling me to move my butt. Here we are. So it didn't take long, right? So we're already there. It's the older one I'm trying to buy that time with. So I'm gonna cherish that moment with the older one because she's the gentle unicorn type, and yeah, the small one, nope, she's already the sass machine. She's sass and full of speed, and she's obsessed with it. She'll probably be on track team. She'll probably be the one that actually throws the guys through the walls when it comes to prom. And then before you know it, they're going to be in the hospital, and she could be the one doing that to them. So in my head, I'd be like, I'm secretly proud, but I have to show her that I'm not pleased. So that's going to be very conflicting.
Well, there you go. Like I say, it's I'm glad that I did pass the geek gene on to both of mine because, I was the first geek in my entire family. A lot of times I have friends somewhere, even whether they're in my age range or a little bit younger, I hear a lot of people say stuff like, yeah, I watched Star Wars with my dad, or I watched Star Trek with my dad, whatever it was, or my mom or dad collected comics, whatever it is, Mm-hmm. And I'm always like, wow, that's so weird because there was no geekness in my family. My mom and dad, and none of them cared about that kind of crap. They wouldn't watch Star Wars. I mean, I forced them in 1980. I forced them to go see The Empire Strikes Back, and they got pissed off at me. And that's my all-time favorite movie.
Bro.
Oh, they don't like. They got a lot of people that don't have the geek gene. So I was the first one in my family. Both of my kids, and I made sure that. Well, I wanted them to have the geek gene. It happened. Now they're into different stuff, but they're still geeks.
Hey, ain't nothing wrong with that. Hey, they got their thing. There's nothing wrong with that. They got their thing that they're committed to, and they are in that fandom lore to that degree about it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, as I'm saying, a geek can understand another geek even if you're not into the same stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because you can just know.
Oh, dude, Marvel, DC, Star Wars, Star Trek, that's obviously just some of the first few that come to mind, but obviously there's 800 different lores and things. Yeah, the fandoms, the thing is, we're just fans. We live these things. We invest our time. We invest our spare thinking. Like, when you see those memes about, the lady who's like, I bet he's thinking about other women. No, we're not thinking about her. We're thinking about, what some weird power that some character can do. We're thinking about that. That's literally us. That's the fandom in a nutshell. That meme.
Oh yeah. NB, if you're referring to the numbers of my numbering, this is number 42 since I've been here on YouTube since April. But I've been, like I was just telling Nick here, I've been doing this show since 2009. I did 700 episodes on my old platform, Blog Talk Radio. So the actual legacy numbering, like they do in comics these days sometimes, is 742. So this is show
legacy number.
Yes, I hate that, by the way, because I've always hated it when they back when they would start comics over again at number one, and then how many characters, how many series got started over and over again at number one, and eventually they'd come this cop out crap where they would combine them all and say this is really number 700 and whatever.
So they can meet that legacy now for like 700 or 750. Yeah, no, I hear that, and that has me wondering. So you worked at comic shop. What state are you in, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm in Louisiana.
Okay.
Before I owned my own shop in the late 80s, 1980 and on, I helped start the first one here in 1981 and 2, and for a few years beyond. Back then there were no comic shops. This was the beginning of the dark ages. It was almost unheard of, a comic book store. I didn't even know what one meant. I've never heard of one. When I first started helping to start the first one I worked in. Other than on the coast, I mean, they had them in big cities, a few. But as you know now, of course, we know comic shops are dropping like flies now. But I mean, as you've known for the past 20, 30 years, the comic shops are everywhere, right?
Oh,
used to not be the case.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I've been going to comic shops since 95. My first one was 95. I was living in a small town. You may have heard of on a small show called Svengoolie when he says, Berwyn. I was living in Berwyn at the time, and this was during that whole 90s boom when everyone's talking about, comics can be worth this much, that much, but like, I had known about that even though I was like 8, maybe 9, but I didn't really care because I was so like obsessed with Spider-Man. Like the 90s animated series was like a big deal for me. That actually led me to the comic shop, and then I would see like, I've heard like the comic talk of, when the new reader could come in and you see books like Spider-Man, Web of Spider-Man, Spectacular, Amazing, yada yada. They kind of get intimidated by where to start. For me at 8, it could have just been the 8-year-old in me. I didn't care. I was just like, I wanted to read all of these. So like, I didn't care. And for me, that was a huge thing. And that was my gateway. Like, I wish I could remember the name of the shop in Berlin, but I at least went there once or twice a month. And Spider-Man is a big thing. And then I was really obsessed on the Human Torch as well. Like, the Fantastic Four seemed really interesting to me, and I latched on to Johnny, and then surely enough, him and Spider-Man happened to be buddy. So that was like a big thing to me. But I remember in 98, if I remember correctly, 98 or 99 is when they had like the second volume of Amazing Spider-Man. I was really confused. I'm like, so are like Spider-Man comics ending, or what's going on? Because I think it was like number 463 of some story called The Final Chapter, I think, with Norman Osborn. And also I relaunched into a number 1. I'm like, so what's with the number 1 thing? 8, like I said, 10-year-old me's confused even by the number. And I'm like, what are they doing here with the numbers? Like, I still kept reading, but I was like, what are we doing this for? I didn't get it with the numbers, especially nowadays. It's more so back and forth. But even 10-year-old me is just like, why are you doing this? And it's funny I'm saying that because I've always heard the stories of people get intimidated by the high numbers. For me, the high number is just like, okay, I don't care. I want to know what's going on here. So it never really intimidated me personally. From 8-year-old pre-puberty Nick to now 33-year-old Nick. Fully, I guess, veteranized. Not as much as you, but I was just like, I don't care about the whole number thing, bro. Just keep it going.
All right. I remember that too, NB Geeks. 'Cause I used to buy the comics off the spinner rack. Let me say hello real quick to my good buddy Problem Being. Thank you, my friend, just popping in. He's across the pond, so it's very late over there. My good buddy, my good Blake 7 buddy. Man, look, I know you're a busy man. But we've got to do another Blake 7 show soon. It'll have to be in the daytime, of course, and which is cool. Daytime for me, that is, of course. But again, you got a busy schedule, so you let me know when you can fit one in, brother, and we will do it because it's a show that we will not rest until everyone has become a fan of Plate 7. He has gotten Gary watching it over at Nerdrotic.
Oh.
No, that was no small feat.
Ooh, yeah, no, that is no small feat. No, hey,
yeah.
good for him,
So
man. That's awesome. That's freaking awesome.
Indeed.
Wow.
So we'll do it, though, man. Just let me know, Problem being. Yeah, man. Say again. Oh, Jim Lee, X-Men, McFarlane. Yeah, again, here's the thing about that, Indy. Since I'm an old school guy, real old, obviously, we all have our different eras. Like, I've done a lot of different shows with people who are a lot younger than me that like stuff that it's kind of funny. They'll talk about, they'll wax nostalgically about stuff that I hated at the time when it came out. And I don't want to go, well, I mean, you don't want to be that guy. Go, oh, that sucked, man. But just go, well, that wasn't my bag. I like this older stuff. So I was never a big Jim Lee guy or McFarlane guy, but I know a lot of people were. Oh, I got a lot of unpopular opinions. Hey, I'm not a popular opinion waiting to happen, man. Lucky good popular opinion.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Hey, I got some unpopular comic opinions that I will die in the hill on, and that's okay. And I've learned that no matter how many people love something, there's always going to be someone who's not a fan. Like, I always saw, like, for me growing up, like, Mark Bagley was like this larger-than-life, be-all, end-all Spider-Man artist. But then I learned there are people, I guess you could say, who are older than me. Like, he's all right. He ain't Steve Ditko type of thing, or John Romita Sr., and I'm just, like, in my head, I'm like, what? Dude, I love Mark Bagley. But, and then that's
I hear you.
Yeah, and that's not to diss on John Romita Sr. or any of the, the hires before Bagley. I mean, I love what those guys done, and maybe it could have something to do with being into Spider-Man the longest, because the second ever comic I ever got was a reprint of Amazing Spider-Man with the Fantastic Four on the cover. That was, I think, the Action Man because they're facing against the Chameleon.
Spider-Man #1.
Yeah, like
Amazing Spider-Man #1.
Yeah. When KB Toys was relevant, and I remember just like seeing that cover, and it was such a big deal for me. I was just like, holy crap, there's the Fantastic Four, and there's guy the Chameleon, like, bro, and the art drew me in, and I actually loved seeing all like the muscle lads like get buff in like 30 days, all the ads, the ads were actually funny back then. The ads are funny. Now it's just plain boring and depressing. It's just like I gotta get through the ad. I mean, I'm assuming you must not be reading current day, which if you are, I don't blame you. I have my current readabouts that I am reading. But there's plenty I stay away from as well.
Well, after about pretty much 40-year chunk of my life, not even be able to conceive of not buying and reading current comic books, whether it was on my bicycle in the 70s, going to the spinner rack at the 7-Eleven, whether it was working in comic shops and buying my comic shops that way, or going to comic shops every week to get them. Right around 2011, when the Screw 52 came out, which I hated. That kind of mostly chased me away. I just got rid of all my folder stuff. DC was kind of, Marvel had already chased me away a couple of years earlier. DC had kind of started chasing me away a little bit, and I just they were just not doing comic books for me. I had aged well beyond their target demo. Now, that was before comic books, like many other things, were destroyed by SJWs. That was when they were just bad. They were just being destroyed. All my favorite characters were destroyed. It's funny, SJWs did destroy the industry, but before that, I was chased out by revisionism and, darkening characters too much and doing so many terrible things to characters that I loved. So I kind of started easing out about that point now. And in the past couple of years, I'm totally dumped out. I mean, I buy 2 new books right now. I actually, because I love Star Trek, I've been getting Star Trek Year 5 from IDW, and I even haven't. And then because I love the Orville, I've been getting the Dark Horse Orville comic. And I don't buy any new stuff from anything now for any of my favorite characters because they've ruined them all for me.
They
which
have
sucks.
ruined. So, okay, I got to ask, because you mentioned a few years before with Marvel, and I have to ask, because this seems like we may be leading up to it. Maybe it may even date farther back for you. Spider-Man, was it One More Day that did it for you?
No, I don't. I hated it, actually, but
of course,
I didn't
as you should.
Yeah. Oh, it's garbage. But see, a little bit before that, I tapped out of Spidey for a good while, and then I went back and tried to give the Straczynski run a chance. And I didn't like Straczynski from get-go on Spider-Man, JMS. So I kind of dumped out with his Morlun book or his Morlun saga or whatever they did before that.
Yeah, that was right after the 9/11 issue. That was around number 36 through 38 because the 9/11 was number 32 or 31. I remember because I had the 9/11 issue.
Right, which I thought was horrible. I thought that was terrible. And I thought Straczynski, whom, by the way, I'm a big Babylon 5 fan. I love his Babylon 5. I hate most of his comic book writing. Not all of it, but most of it. And I didn't like his Spidey. And, of course, you can blame a lot of One New Day on Joe Quesada because he made it happen. But it was still Straczynski. So.
Oh, yeah. At the end of the day, yeah.
Yes, Hail Babylon 5. I love it.
Oh, yeah. Go on.
And MB stopped at he stopped at Amazing 500, and that's a good ball back. Yeah,
that's a fair point. That's a good ballpark to stop at. No, I personally enjoy the JMS one, but it was like big old what the fuck with the whole one more day, brand new day thing. I was like, what the? Because I was actually enjoying the JMS run. I like the idea of Peter being a teacher. To me, it just kind of made sense. Like. He was now, like, he went from teaching himself to now teaching others. And once again, I can understand why that's not everyone's cup of tea either. So, and now, of course, that was the only era where I enjoyed John Romita Jr.'s art. I feel like everything after that, it was just like a big, dude, this looks like crap.
Yeah. My favorite John Romita Jr. stuff is in the early 80s when he was pretty much trying to rip off his father and they had pretty good inkers and it looked, let me tell you something, it looked nothing like the stuff he did later. Like, I think the first time that style that you're talking about really started to come to fruition for him was, I think when he did Daredevil Year One.
Yep, which Daredevil Year One.
And I don't like that stuff. I don't like that style that he cultivated, but I know people that do, but most people don't. It's not very popular. He's a good dude, and I love his father. I worship his father.
How could you die? How could you die?
I was lucky enough to meet him one time, and that was. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to meet almost all of my favorite comic book artists and writers and stuff, but I was not able to. And of course, now almost all of them are gone. That's all I am, because most of the ones I love are from the Golden and Silver and Bronze Age. And most of them are gone now.
Be from.
Oh yeah, again.
All right.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask. Okay, so since you're going to, what years was your era of running a comic shop? Because you got me wholeheartedly curious on this.
Well, I started running one in it was the early 1982, I believe, is when we opened one up here, where I'm from, down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I ran that one for a number of years. It was for someone. I ran it, but it wasn't mine. We ended up having a couple of shops for a while. And then I got out, we had kind of a falling out. I left that, but around 1988, I opened up my own for a while. Oh. And I ran that one. In between those, I worked for a friend's shop in New Orleans. Then when I lost my shop, lost my own, the one I owned, I went back and again for a good number of years into the 90s. I ran a shop for a guy in New Orleans who was a friend of mine. So
Nolans.
Yeah, New Orleans. Yeah, outside New Orleans, but yeah, and it was a good bit of for a long time I was in the biz. It's nothing like, it's absolutely nothing now like it was back then. But man, comics were just so good. I mean, again, I'm biased because that was my time.
Oh, of
but
course.
Man, the direct market, man, so many. That was when, I don't know if you're familiar with the direct sales market. But in the early 80s, Marvel and DC and a bunch of other companies came along and started realizing, hey, they're opening comic shops everywhere. And so they started making comic books exclusively for the comic shop, whereas opposed to before that, as I'm sure you know, whether you were there or not, I'm sure you know, they were on newsstands.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I bought
stores.
From the 7-Eleven, bro.
Yes.
Oh, man, before I did comic shops, 7-Eleven, man. Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, but they did start these direct sales comics, and when DC and Marvel started to see that some of these other companies were coming along and making some very interesting comics, DC and Marvel started doing it. But way before that, though, before those came out, There was Pacific Comics, First Comics, Eclipse Comics, and a bunch of other ones like Warp and Fantagraphics and people like that. Later, though, yes, in the late 80s, early 90s, Image came along, Dark Horse came along. Yeah, so, but even before that, they'd started. And Marvel actually started making some of their comics exclusively for the comic shop. Like Moon Knight was a regular newsstand book, and then they changed it for comic shop only. Doctor Strange.
Bro.
Oh, yeah. The Moonlight series was great.
Was that during the Warren Ellis days?
Oh no, he wasn't even. He was a kid. This was in the early '80s. Doug Minch and Bill Sienkiewicz, and it was a newsstand, a book for a short time, I believe. But then it became exclusive to comic shops. There was Moon Knight, Kazar the Savage.
Kazar.
Doc Strange for a while went direct. Microdots went direct after a while. A few titles went straight to comic shop direct for a while, and then they started making, because there were a lot of more adult comics. And you got to remember, when you're in your late teens, you love superheroes. You want to explore other types of comics. At that time, I did.
Oh yeah, absolutely, dude. Like as I was getting into Spider-Man Fantastic Four, I'd hear about the Ghost Riders. I'm like, bro, what's this? A guy with a flaming skull on a motorcycle? Johnny Blaze? Like, that name sounds awesome, man. Of course, I got obsessed with Daredevil as well. I'm like, bro, a blind guy who can kick anyone's ass and he's blind? Like, how could you not, fall in love with that? Like, all firing on all cylinders they were with those characters. I just yoded that shit. But yeah, no, dude, go on, man, preach it.
Oh, no, I was just, at that time, I was kind of getting into some of I loved superheroes still, mind you, because at the X-Men was big going into when the comic shop era started. I'm going to talk about when it got really big. And then the New Teen Titans were huge. But also you had things like, I got into some of the alternative books. Judge Dredd, which I'm a big fan of. But, for many years, it was a British comic. You can only get like these black and white albums of him. Cerebus, ElfQuest, a bunch of comics. Pacific Comics came along and started. They hired Jack Kirby, the king of comics. They hired Neil Adams to do some comics for them. Mike Grell did a book called Star Slayer, and Rocketeer started in there. You did
Rocket. Yeah, you just hear Rocketeer.
John Sable. Oh yeah, Rocketeer. Yeah.
Woo.
It was. We were so excited about comics back then, man, because there were so many of them were just comic shops only. And we were just, again, you're imagining like you're in your late teens and you're seeing all these, you still love superheroes, but you're seeing all these other uses of the medium and that are just like science fiction and fantasy related comics that are more for adults. And even though I believe superheroes should be for everybody, it was kind of cool to see comics aimed at older readers. That was when that really kind of started into the so-called mainstream. And there were a lot of wonderful books.
Is this right before Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons did Watchmen? I only say that because I'm aware of the impact Watchmen had, for better or worse. No matter how you feel about Watchmen, I've learned that Dave Gibbons, he says, he realized, a lot of people who see that story, what they want out of that story is what they want out of it. They want doom and gloom on steroids. Whereas Dave Gibbons said right away after he had done Watchmen, he wanted to do something more optimistic, Golden Age, Silver Age, something filled with heroism. But the problem is he came off a story that set a bar for, what we see a lot of comics trying to be today, for better or for worse.
Well, a few weeks back, my friend Carlos and I, we did a show all about the works of Alan Moore, because I've been an Alan Moore freak for a long time, and I bought all this stuff from get-go. He did a lot of eclectic stuff. He did a lot of mainstream stuff. What was going on at the time, I remember Swamp Thing was a book that was near cancellation. I was selling it in the shop.
Cancellation?
And as you know, there's no internet back then. So I don't know how the words started to spread, but he took over Swamp Thing, and it was a bi-monthly book about to be canceled. And this is crucial because Watchmen would have happened without it. He had been writing for Marvel UK, and a bunch of other British, because he's British, as you know, writing a bunch of different other things called Marvel Man and for Warrior. V for Vendetta was being done at that time over there, not over here yet. And he took over Swamp Thing, And it started spreading like wildfire through the industry. And everyone's saying, "Have you read Swamp Thing?" I said, "I dumped it a while back." And after the dubbed movie, so I picked it up, and that just changed my life as I was so blown away by his Swamp. But at that point, a couple of issues had come out. I went backtracked, and got them. Number 20 was just called Loose Ends. It wasn't much of a thing, but number 21, Swamp Thing 21, it's been reprinted a million times. It's called The Anatomy Lesson. Changed how everybody looked at comic book writing. And what Moore did with that, he hit so huge. He started doing some other DC work here and there before Watchmen came out. I'm the ultimate Watchmen fanatic. I'm a huge. I have back then I collected everything to do with Watchmen. I was a freak for it. There was a time. I have old man's memory now. There was a time I could quote Watchmen backwards and forwards to you. Is how much I love it.
Wow, dude.
And when it hit in 1986, man, it just exploded. And someone asked something about was Dark Knight. Actually, the first Legends of the Dark Knight was actually the name of a book later. That was Batman: The Dark Knight Returns. You might be referring to Mark with a C.
Yeah,
and it didn't have
Miller.
It was Frank Miller's. It didn't have multiple covers back then. No. Legends of the Dark Knight was a series done later that was sort of like an anthology Batman series. I can't remember, what the first comic with multiple covers was, but it was somewhere around it had been done for a couple of times in comics history before that, but the gimmick started somewhere around the early 90s, but I couldn't give you an exact history. My memory's not that good, brother. But yeah, watch. Well, I remember when I first bought the first issue of Frank Miller's Batman: Dark Knight Returns. We were looking forward to see Miller when he did the Daredevil. Daredevil was another book. That was the same story I was just telling you with Moore. It was about to be canceled after 16 years. Mm-hmm. It was bi-monthly, and Miller just drew the book at first. When he started writing and drawing it, I'd never seen anything like it. It was brilliant, and he did it for a couple of years. And then he did a book called Ronin for DC that kind of didn't do that well.
I know about Ronin. I'm actually aware of the title. I never looked into it. I'm aware of the title. Yeah. And I'm like, man, it feels like one of those things where like if I bring it up, it's almost like people want to sweep it under the rug type of feeling. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe one day when the time and place is right, where I have more than 30 minutes to spare on it, then I'll look into this Ronin. But I could tell Ronin definitely did not bring up the best vibe, because like the comic shop I currently go to, the guy who runs it, he's been operating for a quarter of a century. He knows Alex Ross personally, so so clearly the guy knows his stuff. And if you're a comic shop in 2020 and you're lasting 25 years and you're surviving through a pandemic and you won $1,000 off Nerdrotic, like you're doing okay. You're doing okay, like concerning the climate. So. Yeah, even I brought around him. He was just like, oh, yeah, Ronin's story. I'm like, okay. One day, Keith, I'm going to find out about the Ronin. Now here you are bringing it up to me. So one day, I need to find out about this. Now, here's the thing. I asked you about the Watchmen thing because you feel like that story, like, once again, for better or for worse, like, made every story want to be about how edgy and dark characters can be. Do you feel like that story may have done that? Because Dave Gibbons feels that way to a degree.
Well, so does Alan Moore. Look, the deconstruction of the superhero myth was not original to Watchmen. As a matter of fact, it was a book in the late 70s, a novel by Robert Meyer called Super Folks. That it was more of a satire, but Alan Moore did steal some things for a couple of his different stories for that, including Watchmen in a sense. But even before he started doing Watchmen, he was doing Marvel Man before it was later changed to Miracle Man in the States. And
Miracle Man.
Yeah, and that was a deconstruction also. So, but, Miller and Moore were, there were other writers that played around with it, but those are the two writers that really ushered in the deconstruction of the superhero and the grim and the gritty. And Miller has never lamented it that I know of. Maybe he has, but Moore has lamented it quite a bit. And even Dave Gibbons has a little, like you said. But yeah, it all starts and stops with those two. They opened the floodgates for better or worse. Now, again, there are a lot of people who love a lot of great comics that came after it that wouldn't have happened without Watchmen and Dark Knight. No question about it.
Oh yeah. I won't acknowledge. I won't pretend like that doesn't exist. there are a lot of writers and artists that became what they were because of that. But once again, it's the for better or for worse, depending on the perspective. Quick mention: I see a Mark with a C and a Mark C. That's
Yeah,
cool
Mark
as
C.
fuck.
Hey, buddy. Yep. Eric
It's
K.
two Mark C's.
Yeah.
Good.
I always love it when I got Mark with a C and Mark C. Mark C. and my fellow partner in crime many times. We'll be talking again soon, hanging out soon. And he was with me at Loki stream last night. Good to see you, my brother.
Ooh.
Eric K. I just looked up the price guide. One of the rookie cards I had before the fire. The price $25,000 on eBay for a mint Bean Joe Green. Oh my God, I love Bean Joe Green, by the way. Side note, but man, dude, that's tough, dude. Ugh, sorry about that, brother. Now, see, my friend Mark C. liked Ronin a lot. Now, I've not read Ronin since it came out when I was selling it. And I read it. I couldn't wait for it when it came out. And I read the whole thing, but I have not read it since 1983 or whatever it was, the year it came out. So, would I read it now and like it more? I don't know. But he sure liked it a lot. And yes, it's got that European sensibility. And absolutely agree with you on that, brother. So yeah, it's an interesting read. You might like it. It might be your bag. You know, it's something to read.
It might be, and I respect that he said that, despite hearing what you and I both have to say. Like, that's good. I respect someone who has a conviction towards what they like. So that's good. That's good. Someone stands by what they say. So that's good.
Oh yeah.
Okay. No, I'm asking because, like, once again, I'm talking to someone from a different era. So everything about I'm enjoying picking your brain apart like crazy. So, what time did you get out of the shop business?
After I closed my shop in 90, whatever it was, 90-ish, 91, I was kind of out for a little while, but I worked for a buddy of mine who owned a couple of shops in the New Orleans area. A very dear friend of mine who actually helped me start mine when I had mine. I went and worked with him, ran his for a while, and worked with him for a couple of years. Then sometime, I don't even remember now, sometimes in the late 90s, in the early 90s, I kind of got out of it. I would help him a little bit here and there, but I had to go do other work. I needed a better job. It was not the kind of job that was not career stuff. And I kind of got out of it then. So I've really been out of it since then. Like I say, Gary, Nerdrotic, the great Gary, he owned a shop in the big city in a big time. And so what I've done is peanuts compared to him because he ran a big shop with a gigantic clientele. I was in a totally different time, but I did love it. I loved it then, and yet I've been asked a lot of times, would you ever want to shop again? And even then I was saying hell no from all the things I learned. And now it's triple, quadruple hell no. Not that anyone has any shops left anyway,
Yeah, I mean, as far as what's for me, like I said, I got the one that I go to, and the guy who runs it, my guy Keith. His name's Keith. His shop is Keith's Comics up in Schaumburg. It's like a suburb. It's like a mini city. And once again, 25 years. He knows Alex Ross. He's very well reputable in the area, and he's one of those guys where people who go to his shop are super loyal. Like, they're super loyal. But we all have our chats. Like, what maybe you know about what came out, God, back in March or April last year, right around the shutdown period starting, when they were talking about the new Warriors, and it was the talk of the shop. We're like, what the hell is this? Characters named Snowflake and Safe Space. And then, like, we were laughing our asses off and joking about it. And then it made it all the way to Joe Rogan. I'm like, holy crap, it made it to Joe Rogan? Like, are you kidding me? It made it to Joe Rogan. Like, and Joe Rogan's laughing his ass off about it. And, oh yeah, that's the thing. Like,
yeah,
guys at Keith's Comics are very low. Even, I'm assuming you know the artist Humberto Ramos.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He sold a piece for $900 of Nova that went to Keith's shop during the shutdown.
Really? Nice.
Really, yeah. So once again, Keith's got some loyal people to back him up. Keith clearly loves his shop. But, yeah, it makes me like, when all is said and done, I mean, whatever shops are left, like, Keith's will probably be one of the few that will still stand. But, bro, I worry, and that the worst part is how much of the current writers and artists are doing doing this to the shops, because if you see how the way shops are run, it seems like they genuinely, at least for the most part, they do care about the clientele. Whereas a lot of the writers and artists, they are, as your boy Zach has said, assuming you know who he is, they're catering to an audience that absolutely does not exist. And it's one thing when you're trying to expand to that audience, it is. But the thing is, they have tried time and again, and that audience, at best, will maybe buy like a first issue of, per se, Captain Marvel, #1, times 500 times they've done that now since 2010. But they don't come back for #2, #3. They don't invest in the story arc. And if they're not investing in that, they want to know about the next gritty Watchmen, V for Vendetta, Greaser line, so they can feel how adult they are over there. Because they want to feel validated for reading a story based on how edgy and adult it sounds, versus just enjoying a Golden Age, Silver Age story like you and I, where if it's something with Captain America fighting Batroc, or the Human Torch, or in Fantastic Four fighting Mole Man. Now, how dare we enjoy a story about heroes being heroes? Nowadays, or for the most part, it's deconstruction up the ass. Don't get me wrong. There is a place in the world for deconstruction, but does it need to be every story? Absolutely not.
Oh no, believe me. Yeah, again, that you can get. That would take me about 15 shows to go over what I've gone on and talked about. That sort of thing. It's like my buddy Mark C was just saying. But I want to say hello, Sarah. I want to make sure I'm saying it right. Seraphim Nexus has said that he just saw Doomcock tweeting this, and you know what? My good buddy Doomcock retweeted us there. Thank you, DC, the great Lord and future ruler of Earth. I'm honored, my friend. Thank you so much. Doomcock is the man.
Oh, dude,
he's the man. I love Doomcock.
How could you not? The guy's got a hell of a voice with the singing. He knows his pop culture.
Yes.
And he's so welcoming to all his guests. He's
the best.
Right? He's the old, and he's got the whole, oh my, I see it right now on my page right now. Oh my God, this is so crazy.
Well, a couple of years back, in early 2019, and it's a video I put on this channel, you can find, the great Doomcock came on my show on BTR and spent a great time talking with me.
Nice.
He didn't have to do that. I'm a nothing show. And he's just such a great dude. I love that man, and he's been such a good buddy to me. So, Doomcock, I don't know if you're hearing this, my friend, but you're the best, buddy, and thank you for retweeting that. I truly appreciate it. I am honored. My good buddy Mark C says, just found out today that Bernie Wright's and Frankenstein 2 page spread was sold last year. Oh, $1 million. Oh, man. I love Bernie. Bernie Wright's was fantastic, man. Well, I guess Frank Darabont can afford it, bro. Wow, that's amazing.
I see it with this. I never said that commercial for the game. All right,
I like that commercial.
Right.
Yes,
sir.
Forgive
me for picking your brain apart, because once again, two different eras.
I don't have much of one anyway, man. Go ahead.
You are underestimating yourself, sir. Don't even go there. But anyways. So, okay, so Golden Age, Silver Age, what I noticed from now compared to then is the extra use of fill-in artists. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate the idea of it every once in a while, but the fact that nowadays there could be 1 or 2 issues of it, and nowadays fill-in, whereas it seemed like, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like way back when, it was like artists were a lot more consistent on books. No, is that just me not being as knowledgeable enough of old books? But how much more frequent or less frequent was it of the fill-in artists? Because it feels like it's so frequent nowadays.
Well, it's been something in comics, well, pretty much forever. Well, it really became more and more epidemic in the Bronze Age, I would say, in the 70s. But it happened even before that, where they would just be, where they would, you get deadlines. The more and more that the publishers put out more and more titles, they had a lot of trouble being fast. See, the great Jack Kirby, which you can see me hanging out with in the picture up at the top here, the king of comics himself. I got to meet him twice. Greatest geek experience of my life. Jack Kirby was super, super fast. He could crank out 5 pages in a day. That's unheard of.
I heard about that. I'm like, It's funny. I hear about he's cranking the pencils out 4 to 5 pages of a book, and nowadays you're lucky if you hear about 1 page like per day. And I'm like, man, Jack Kirby must have been a freak of nature.
He was a freak of nature in every single respect. He's the king of comics for a reason, dude. He changed and revolutionized the art form about 3 times over a career of 40 some odd years, and no one else ever did that. I mean, he changed it 3 different times. And changed it, set the pace. He's the king, and he co-created so many things, not just his art, it was his creations. He's the king to me, and I love the guy, but he was fast, you see, and many, many artists are not so fast. Many great artists that you might love their work are not all that fast. So, yeah, there have been plenty, in fact, they used to hire out a lot of art that never even got used that they would put in files. Marvel used to have fill-in files that they would just, if they were really, really backed up on an issue of a comic, they would throw a fill-in issue out there that just like a one-off nothing story that had nothing to do with what was going on in their current book. It used to happen all the time. Stan Lee was one of the few, as an editor, one of the ones who started doing that. But Julius Schwartz did it. Mort Weisinger did all the old editors. They E. Nelson Bridwell was famous for it. Yeah, they used to farm out a lot of filler work when they needed it. That's why Marvel Fanfare got started in the 80s. I don't know if you're familiar with that title, but
fill-in issue sounds much more, I guess, understandable than fill-in arc or mini arc, because nowadays this is once again, like the main writer would go like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 issues. And then they would have the fill-in for 1 or 2. Nowadays, it's like the main artist would be 2 or you'd be lucky if they had 2 or 3 issues, unless once again, referencing unless you're a Humberto Ramos, where you can get away with doing 6 to 8 issues, and then you would have a fill-in arc. But many guys, you're lucky nowadays if they can pull that off, and then it definitely like. Especially, it's weirder if they bring in an artist where it's nothing like the main artist's style, because it's like you're reading an entirely different book. Like, I'm trying to think here. There's this one guy who has like a really clean style. Like back in 2015, they had this thing called All New, All Different Marvel, and they had in the main book they were like trying to like give all the hype with was Invincible Iron Man. It was the book where they had Bendis doing Iron Man, and they had David Marquez, who has a super clean style. And whether you like the book or not, a lot of people liked Marquez's style, but then the problem was, after Marquez did his 5 issues, they had Mike Deodato on his book, which Mike Deodato is not a bad arc. He definitely draws on the digital end, so whether you like that or not, it's a whole different story, but it's like you're reading 2 different books. It's like, is this the same book? It's just like,
yeah.
Ooh. It made it hard to read just off of that alone. Like, if I had seen Dezal's art on another book, I'm like, hey, I can appreciate this, but it really was harder to get past it, because once again, it just felt like an entirely different book. Do you know where I'm coming from on that?
Well, yeah, again, that's been going on for a long time in comics. Yes, absolutely. As a reader, you would like, especially if you like the artist, you'd like some consistency, and that's something, they have quote-unquote creative teams. When there isn't a fill-in issue, but an artist just goes too slow, and you got the same writer and things good, and it really throws you off when a subpar artist comes on a book that you've been enjoying for a while. That's a common problem with comics for a long time. I just think it started really, really cropping up in the 70s, but it was before that a little bit too. But it was really, really, yeah. So no, yeah. So I guess, and like I was telling you earlier, I've kind of crapped out since 2011. But even before that, yeah. And
Sorry, don't mind me. Seraphim Nexus's comments. Just a first impression.
Yes. Let's see. You better watch your back, Nick Weiser. Seraphim says, they expect the girl from The Grudge to pop. Hey, well, is she hot?
Bring it.
Is she hot? But like John, Mark C says, John Byrne used to say, There are 22 work days in a month and 20 to 24 pages in a book. If you can't do a page a day, no matter how pretty you draw, you can't do this job. Joe Q threw this out, man.
I agree.
Joe Casada. Absolutely. No, and Byrne was pretty fast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I don't expect every style to be the most crisp, clean art. I understand deadlines are crazy, and I'm no artist. I get it. It's easier said than done. That's why you have the colorist. That's why you have the letterer. Like, that's why you have the inker. Like, okay, that's fine. But it almost feels like nowadays, and once again, it just feels like nowadays there's more of a see what everyone else is saying on Twitter, whether it's good or bad, looking for validation, and then not getting that work done. Definitely, it's more guilty on the writers department. I'm sure we can name writers for days on that end who are doing that. But, I mean, some artists, like, to some degree, it's just like, bro, hey, you can be working on that page right now. You can be working on that page right now, man, Monday through Friday. Like, if you're doing a book that's, like the current Marvel issue is like 20 pages. And so, if you think about it, 5, 10, 15, 20. So, 20 pages, 20 days, a page a day, it should be able to get done. And then when you see, I don't know if you follow Ethan Van Sciver, but
sure.
But I'm assuming you've at least heard about the 616 documentary. But when you see what goes on, and then the worst part is when writers and artists defend that, saying that that's normal, right? How are you defending that? Like, that's not an okay business practice. Like, I can imagine the Jim Shooter era. I don't see this flying. I don't see it. And then once again, maybe I'm wrong. I didn't grow up in the Jim Shooter era, but it just doesn't seem that would pass.
Jim Shooter is an interesting bloke. He was, as an editor-in-chief, he was a bit of a tyrant, and he was a bit of a hack. I mean, he was a schlockmeister, I always thought. As a writer, I mean, this is a guy, you cannot, again, and I'm sure it's not a nice thing to say about him, but I'll say nice things about him in the sense that the guy started writing. I did a show last Saturday night, about one of my favorite things in the world is the Legion of Superheroes. I love that. We did a show about that the other night, and I'll be doing more shows about the Legion. But Jim Shooter started writing for Legion of Superheroes comics in the 60s when he was 13 years old. A 13-year-old, they let write comic books. And then, of course, later he wrote a lot. He wrote for Avengers and, alongside of George Perez for a while. He became an editor. And later, after he kind of ran, I don't think he ran Marvel very well as editor-in-chief, in my opinion, in the 80s. He did a lot of schlocky stuff, and he chased a lot of people away. He started Valiant in the early 90s, which was really good. And I loved those early 90s Valiant comics. So Jim Shooter's got a lot going for him. And, I'm not trashing him completely. I'm criticizing him. But this is a guy who created who started the new universe for Marvel in the 80s. So he deserves any criticism he gets.
Well, it sounds like you're coming at it from an objective perspective, because you're saying what you do like, but what you don't like. You're not just saying he's great at everything he does, which is good. No, you're talking about what you like and what you don't like.
Oh yeah.
That's fine. It's one thing if you truly, genuinely like everything you like, but at some point it becomes fanboyish. But that's some people are that. We are that. Everyone does to some degree that.
Oh yeah, we can all fanboy.
Oh yeah, hey,
I'll fanboy now, man. Yeah, I'll fanboy sometimes. Let's see, was it? Sorry, 616 sounds like a negative. Well, see, the Marvel Prime universe is called Universe 616. So that's what it's.
Yeah,
that's what it's a reference to.
Or Prime Earth Prime, whatever it is nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's I've heard about it, especially I heard about the Dan Slott one.
Oh,
Dan Slott, Jesus Christ, man. That guy, I'll tell you something about Dan Slott, because he takes a very deserved pounding because he's an SJW jackass. Deserves everything he gets, and he cannot write anymore. But people say he never could write. I don't entirely agree. He actually wrote a few comic books a long time ago that I like, that I love, which is why. But he's taking over FF right now, and it's horrible. Oh, by the way, yeah, you know what? 2 years ago, I went back to FF when they brought it back because I'm such a Fantastic Four fanatic.
Yeah.
And I promised a friend I would give Dan Slott one friggin' year. 12 issues.
Ooh, 12.
And I
did. A whole year shot.
Really 13, because 12 was, then 13 were true They were like a two-parter. And I gave it 13. I said, and I could not wait to get off of it. It's so bad.
Bro,
he's still doing it.
Yeah, and I don't get, like, oh, okay, so here's my story with Dan Slott. So I got into comics, I fell out of comics, and I ironically I brought myself back when I heard about what happened with Spider-Man, with Doc Ock, Superior Spider-Man, and it interested me. And then I learned over time that Doc Ock, aka Superior Spider, was just a self-insert of Dan Slott. But I didn't really think, I didn't know, and that's true. I mean, to some degree, every writer puts a little bit of themselves into the main character, but nowadays it feels like a full insert. And I started noticing, I didn't catch on to the pattern right away until I started seeing what Dan Slott's Twitter was like. And at the time, I didn't think much of it. I just thought, oh man, it's just online trolls. I met the guy at a convention. He seemed nice to me. Like, he had signed books, and he knows how to. He seemed like he knew how to run like a line, knew how to do the whole convention spiel. But I noticed, once again, and I was still, I guess you could say, more naive, connecting the dots. But then I started seeing the patterns of, like, the endless twittering, and then I noticed, like, as I was reading more comics that had his name on it, it would keep saying co-written, 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 co-written. And I thought, man, I wonder if he was just not on Twitter as much, he would be the sole writer on these issues. Because, like, he uses this whole thing about, well, I did 1 out of every 5 issues of Spider-Man. But the thing is, in a sense, that's true, but a lot of those issues he co-written. So is it really 1/5 of Spider-Man? Like, I wouldn't agree at that point if you had to get a co-writer. To me, if you did 1/5 of Spider-Man, that's gotta be your name as the writer. But a lot of these issues, you end up getting a co-writer. And I feel like it was due to how much he gets into arguments with people on Twitter. Whether you agree with him or not, it's very unproductive. And the fact that, like, you see, what's his name, Tom Brevoort, and, like, he's just accepting, like, that's okay. And the fact that, once again, I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it just seems like, my memory goes back to the mid-90s. My memory goes back to there, right? My memory goes back to mid-90s. It seems like in Marvel there's this historical pattern where writers will never admit when they did something wrong. And it's just like, why? Like, I feel like you could win a lot of fans, at least check out your shit again. If you just said, you know what? We fucked this up. Let's try again. But no, none of them. They just say, no, it doesn't matter. We appeal to the one person. Like, at what point do we stop that mentality? And yet, Dan Slott is still there. Like, after he got out of Spider-Man, he's doing Fantastic Four and Iron Man, which I read 2 issues of that, and he drilled that into the ground. And then I wonder why when I see what he did with Pete Woods. And then his artist on that book, Pete Woods, is, Slott could be late, but, dude, that's not the mentality. That's not how you should be promoting that. Like, once again, more of these guys, they can't admit that they did something wrong. Is that something that's always been going on, that they can just never admit that they did anything wrong?
Yeah, a lot of these writers have big egos. A lot of editors have big egos. They clash, and a lot of that's true of artists in any field. Pretty much, people are artistic or creative. A lot of they clash egos, and very few of them have any humility to speak of. And then, they don't admit not everybody, of course, but most of them don't admit their faults and admit when they're wrong very well. So no, I mean, yes, it's not uncommon to any entertainment field, including comic books, and it's been going on forever. Clashes of egos and things like that. Absolutely.
Even movie directors, though, have admitted, like George Lucas has all the pressure in the world, and he admitted he's messed up shit. And yet here these guys are much smaller time than George Lucas, and they have a greater chance of freaking getting their dick eaten by a piranha than to ever admit that they did wrong. Like,
yes, sir.
Bro,
that's right. Yeah, that's right, man.
That's a sad ride, and with the Slott 616 documentary. Like, oh my god! Did you hear what he did with Professor X recently?
No, I dumped his FF crap.
Okay, well,
like I said a while back.
I'll tell you what he did, because there's this one guy who's another great YouTuber. I don't know if you watch the show, but if you don't, his name's Just Some Guy.
Yeah, he's great. I love him.
Oh, I know. He's in my home state. So, and basically he did what seems to be more and more common nowadays. He performed character assassination. So, you and I both know at face value, Professor Charles Xavier is a man who not only is accepting and welcoming of mutants, but he wants to help anyone he can.
Right.
Anyone.
Sure.
Well, we all know that the Fantastic Four, Reed and Sue had kids. One of them being Franklin, who happens to be a mutant. Well, Slott decided, once again, he wants to undo Frank being a mutant, and he literally uses dialogue for Xavier saying, "You are not welcome here." You want to talk about the most unmost Xavier dialogue ever? "You're not welcome here." The X-Men was supposed to be about tolerance, and now he's making this group about intolerance. Oh, I'm glad I didn't give my money. So I'm thankful for Just Some Guy for taking a hit for the team. I'm very thankful. Yeah. Thank you, Just Some Guy, wherever you are. Thank you for taking a hit for the team. But
yes, with modern comics, it's best to watch him or your boy Zach or Yellow Flash review the comics first. They do the Umbrella Guy. They do a great service. So yeah, absolutely. Sarah from Nexus is cracking me up. He's a funny son. Yeah, that is a party face there.
Look, he's looking good there with that red and green.
Yeah, there you go, man. I like that. I like that avatar. Yeah. But yeah, no, look, modern comics and Slott, because he's such an SJW a douchebag, like Mark Waid and others, he's ruined his writing. The only one that is kind of a nutty SJW type that I think hasn't ruined his talent yet, although he's not as good as he used to be, is Kurt Busiek, who I love. I love a book, again, did a show a couple of months back about one of the greatest superhero comics ever done is Astro City. Kurt Busiek's Astro City is what it's actually called. He owns it. He owns it with he and Britt Anderson and I think even Alex Ross. That's a master. That is a brilliant, some of the most brilliant comics I've ever read in my life, including on the level of some of the Alan Moore stuff that I think is masterpieces and brilliant. And it's been a couple of years since he's last done it, but that was one of the last things I was collecting, and it was not as good as the series had been, but it was still pretty good, and I'm hoping he comes back out with it again soon. So I don't know if you've ever read it.
Mark with a C. Larson is also off the rails. He ain't that the truth.
Eric Larson's a jag. He's a jag off. I never liked him. I mean, I can't think of too much he ever did that I did like. I mean, a lot of people like his stuff, and I get that. But let's see here. Mark says, you think Jack and Stan had the Malcolm X Dr. King dynamic in mind when creating Professor X and Magneto?
I got a response to that. What's it called? Do you know Young Ripper, Eric July? Oh
yeah, he's great. Another one.
I know, fantastic. He's like one of the best of the best. But
he's great.
I know he had a thing about the whole Professor X Magneto, and I can't remember what he read off of, but he said that was not based off of the whole Malcolm X Dr. King thing. So, and a lot of people thought it was that. A lot of people thought it was. So, Mark C is not alone in that pond thinking that Xavier and Magneto were X and King. But apparently Chris Claremont confirmed. I mean, I gotta do some Googling. But Young Ripper, because he did an X-Men debate with someone, because Eric July loves his debates. And if he's debating, I'm gonna listen, because that guy has some... Mm-hmm. He has some conviction, and I want to listen. So I'm going to say, I remember he did a comic debate with a guy. I think his name was the Blurg Without Fear. I think that was the guy's name. He was another YouTuber, and that's where they got into this whole debate about Xavier and Magneto. And and Ripa actually had the showrunners from X-Men the Animated Series on his For Canon's Sake podcast. If you haven't listened to
Wow,
the show,
he had Larry Houston on there.
let me get those names for you because I don't think it was Larry Houston. It was a married couple who were on there. And
still, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Oh, I know, right? And they were really cordial towards Eric, and they were talking about they have like a coffee book coming out, with showcases like storyboards, shit you and I, right? Shit you and I would like.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I gotta say, Mark. See, I never thought about it a whole lot. I mean, for heard people say it, so I don't have much of an opinion on it one way or the other. But you say Eric July doesn't buy into it. That's what you're saying.
Eric Lewald, but I can't seem to find his wife's name, and I'm kind of bummed because his wife sounded like she was very instrumental.
Okay.
And that, because like I said, they were both on the podcast, and they were both talking about how they said they would revive the show like nowadays if they got the call to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, Eric and Julia Lewald. There we go. Found it. Yeah, buddy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, I'll check. Was that recently or what?
Yeah, no. I'll shoot a comment to you on the podcast. I mean, on the private chat. No, I'm literally digging for it for you right now. Actually,
that's cool.
Yeah, Eric July.
Why aren't they talking about recasting Matt? Look, let me tell you something. They're going to recast every friggin' thing in the MCU.
Oh yeah. Oh, dude,
it's all going to be terrible. The FF's going to be so disgusting. I'm not going to be able to look at it. I know it's going to be terrible.
Oh, I'm worried. And then luckily we got guys like Ripa who would agree with us that as he would say, they're going to tokenize the hell out of the Fantastic Four because they need to appeal to the checkbox demographic.
Right.
Who's not even going to pay to see the movie anyway. At best, someone might download it on some BitTorrent, but you're not going to see them advocating for this movie day in and day out the same way you and I would. We like our Johnny Storm, the baby face, blonde hair, blue-eyed, hotshot, cocky son of a bitch who challenges Ben Grimm and pushes him around, like, oh, dude, what the hell are you gonna do, Ben? And Ben, he gets his buttons pushed. He's like, oh, what the hell? They fight like brothers type of thing. And it's not gonna feel right with a tokenized thing or a Human Torch. It's just not.
No, it'd be crap.
It's funny, because, I've had people, I guess you could say, who are not as into the Fantastic Four, who will be like, oh, it's not such a big deal. But then I'll mention to him, well, what's the demographic you're into? And someone, like, I had a buddy of mine, a good friend of mine, he's like, oh, I love the Lord of the Rings. I'm like, well, how do you feel like if they changed who Gandalf completely was? And then he says, oh, well, I never thought of it that way. I'm like, oh, so your Gandalf is my Human Torch. And then all of a sudden, right then and there, it started registering in his head. He says, oh, you know what? I see where you're coming from now. And before you know it, now it's registering into his head now, like, why, like, this is just nuts. Like, I get it, not everyone and everything can be picture perfect, but it just, when Kingpin got casted to Daredevil in 2003, the Ben Affleck film, it felt more honest, whether you were for it or not. It felt more honest then, but nowadays it's every other role, if not every single role, where they are considering this checkbox thing. At least we could say Michael Clark Duncan is a great actor and
was,
R.I.P. Yeah. Nowadays, it doesn't even feel like they're just looking for great actors. Just say, oh, hey, color, okay, good. It's almost discriminate in a way. It's almost kind of like condescending.
Well, it's very condescending. It's leftovers. It's hand-me-downs.
Totally.
Actually, Mark with a C, I don't know if you're familiar, but they are doing Lord of the Rings today. They're doing a new show. Lord of the Wokes is being made right now, my friend. So, so just wait. That's going to be, that's something you want to think about. I mean, the great Gary from Nerd Roddick, Gary Bickler, is a huge Lord of the Rings guy. He's going to have a little bit of fun with that one. I feel bad for him, but
Yeah,
he loves Lord of the Rings. Yeah,
he's gonna do a lot of suffering for guys like you and I.
yeah. I mean, he already has because we've all he like me. He's had things he loves destroyed, like Doctor Who and Star Trek and Star Wars and things like that. So it's just another casualty, but that's his big thing. So yeah, $1 billion show. They're making it for Cramazon. So yeah. So they're doing that, but no, look, all that stuff, all the woke casting and crap like that, they won't learn their lessons. So the MCU's it's kind of dead to me. I enjoyed a lot of it. I don't know about you, for the most part.
I have my movies I don't like, but the bulk of it I do appreciate, but I am very worried going forward. So I'm with you there.
When you race swap a character, you change how that character related to life through experience. It becomes a different character, not a racially different adaptation. Absolutely right. It's just it's stupid. It doesn't work. And like you say, Eric July and other people, it's certainly, he's taught, like he calls it tokenizing the characters. A good friend of mine. Well, I say good friend, I think the biggest Fantastic Four I know, but beside myself, and he transcends me so great. Of a fan of the Fantastic Four. Back in 2013 or 14, when they announced the Fan Four Stick Michael B. Jordan casting when they announced that stupid casting of Michael B. Jordan as Human Torch. This man, now bear in mind, he's older than me, and I'm old. He loves the Fantastic Four just about more than anything in the world. He happens to be a black gay gentleman who his words were, and I quote, "The Human Torch is a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white boy, and that's what he always should be. Cast him the way he's supposed to be." His words, not mine.
Was that literally his words, Michael B. Jordan?
No, he said that was his words about Michael B. Jordan being cast. This friend of mine, who happens to be a black gentleman, older than me.
Yeah.
And so not just like Eric July, who's also a black gentleman, doesn't like all this race swapping crap either. Let's see what Servant has.
Dude, I found you that link. I'm copying it right now for
the
X-Men.
Cool.
Oh yeah, buddy.
Did you see Doctor Sleep? Did you see Doctor Sleep? I did not see Doctor Sleep, Seraphin. So I had no issue with making the father of Abra Stone black, but of course that's not enough. They also have to make him write a dissertation about the Black Struggle. That again, I've not seen that film. But I can definitely understand where you're coming from, Seraph and Nexus.
And that's another thing that he's once again, I know we're starting to beat on a dead horse here, but once again, Eric July has intelligently brought up. It's just like every time they make a character black, they always fall back on the race argument. Like, it'd be one thing, and once again, we're now echoing our influences here, but Neurotic mentioned before, why can't a black man just be a lawyer? Like a Matt Murdock type of lawyer. But no, it's if they're black, they have to suffer because of race right off the bat. Yet, let's just dismiss the Michael Jordans. Let's dismiss the Chuck Berrys of the world. Who are these guys who said, I'm not going to let this shit define me. I'm going to go be somebody. And then they did. And I lived in Chicago, and I'm telling you, in the 90s, being in Berwyn, 5 minutes from Chicago, everyone worshipped Michael Jordan. Everyone, if they didn't worship, they respect him. It didn't matter who you were. And yet somehow there was a race issue? Bro, no, you don't tell me. I lived in the most, I'm a mixed race guy. Every Latino, Asian, white, black, everyone respected Jordan. Everyone. You go to those NBA games, look at the videos in the 90s. It was still a dominantly white crowd. And you know what? They loved Jordan. They all did. And now you're telling me that the old son, those people just are all white supremacists? Like, what? What?
Oh, it's insane, man. It's insane.
Like, dude.
Well, by the way, let's see. You know what? I'll speak to that for a second. Eric K., I actually don't disagree with that. He said I had no problem with Nick Fury. Samuel L. Jackson is a bad man. Yeah, until they cut his balls off and kept him up. That's exactly right. Here's the thing about that. I personally don't like Ultimates. Okay, but at least with Ultimates, when they came out with it, they didn't take away even though it wasn't very good at that point. They didn't take away the primary Marvel universe. They made it an alternative universe that if you wanted to read comics aimed at an older audience, you could do it, and the other characters were still more or less, for the most part, accessible. And in other words, so they gave you a choice, whereas the Screw 52 didn't do that. They just changed it all in one way. So Ultimates gave you a choice. And in that, yes, Millar, whoever it was, made Nick Fury a black character, kind of basing him off of Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel L. Jackson, when he found out about it, he said, I don't mind, but if you ever make a movie, I want to play Nick Fury. I don't have a big problem with that. I mean, to me, Nick Fury will always be the Jack Kirby creation of, the tough Jewish kid from Hell's Kitchen. The one that was in the comics before that will always be my Nick Fury. But for a movie version, isn't because look, there are exceptions to everything. It's still tokenizing and all that stuff. But I like Samuel L. Jackson a lot in the role, so I'm fine with it.
Oh yeah, right.
It didn't bother me too much.
It's one of those conflicting things because, like, we love Samuel L. Jackson, of course we do. It's the same once again. I love Michael Clark Duncan. It's like, of course, like I love those actors, and once again, they do. Once again, to be fair, they feel they're great guys. They're men we appreciate as performers.
Well, by the way, I don't disagree with Mark C. either. Multiple things will be true at the same time. I would, if I had my druthers, Mark, Kurt Russell should have been Nick Fury. I'm with you there, but since it wasn't going to happen, I just dealt with it. Yeah, and I can't handle. I never really liked David Hasselhoff as Nick Fury that much. So Nick Fury, but in fact, there was a Nick Fury miniseries in the Prestige format in the '80s, I believe it was.
Yes,
and they had these painted covers where Nick Fury looked just like Kurt Russell on the covers.
Oh,
dude, on purpose. So,
I own an action figure of Kurt Russell, Nick Fury from Spider-Man animated series the 90s. That was my first Nick Fury. So yeah, I remember seeing that figure. I actually thought he had like a Kurt Russell thing going on. And now all of a sudden, like before you know, we Sam Jackson him, Mace Windu him. I'm like, bro, what? Okay, ain't the word. You right?
Oh shit, David Hasselhoff. Yeah, we all saw that one, buddy. Yeah. But yeah, look, again, there are exceptions to every. Yeah, there you go. Thanks for the title, Mark. I was having a brain fart. Nick Fury versus Shield. There you go. Thank you. That man knows his stuff, Mr. Mark C. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mark C.
I'm glad I have him. I have people like him and Carlos, my other friend, to take up the slack from my old man's memory sometimes, which helps. But yeah, and again, those were cool covers. I didn't really like the book that much, but I like those covers. And yes, if I had my way, Mark C. would have been Kurt Russell. But I do like Samuel L. Jackson. I always did like him. He's a jag-off, but I like him as an actor. At the point you have to say, I love that black actor, and that black actor. You have to realize there's nothing productive to be gained from the discussion. That's a good point, sir, from Nexus. Very good point. Absolutely. You should just be able to say, I like that actor. And there's the thing. I like Samuel L. Jackson. Yes. I mean, it's obvious he's a black person. You can't not see that, but I don't care. I just love the actor. And yes, as a person, and the things he's acted, the way he's conducted himself as a person, he's kind of a douchebag. But I've always loved him as an actor. I don't know what it is, man. I mean, I thought you can say what you want about the prequels. I think Mace Windu's a badass.
Oh yeah, hey, I'm with you there. I mean, as far as the prequels go, like my issue with like Attack of the Clones, it's way too slow. There's some great action, but the movie was just like talking about the political end of things, and it was overkill. And I love, like I said, I love the action. I don't love it, but I do enjoy the Revenge of the Sith movie. I enjoy it. It's very imperfect, but to be fair, every one of those movies, to some degree, besides A New Hope and Empire, all had their imperfections. Even if I want to get nitpicky, that'd be a whole other discussion for another time before you and I fall off track there. But, and that's fine. Like, Revenge of the Sith is a movie that I enjoy. I like it, and I've had a handful of rewatchabilities since then, and I'll probably go back to it again a few more times somewhere in my realm of existence. I will not rule that out, unlike The Last Jedi, which I saw opening night in theaters and I have not watched since.
Yeah, I've never walked out of a movie more pissed off, except, and I'm not opening up a can of worms here. We won't talk about this because my blood pressure has to be kept to a minimum. More pissed off than The Last Dead Guy, except for maybe Man of Steel. And I won't. We can't get into that.
That's another. God, you and I can have a discussion on Man of Steel for an man. You open up a can of worms.
That's a can of worms with Man of Steel. But if anyone, not that you should want to, but if you want to know everything I believe about that movie, there's a video in my playlist or on my page where I read my rather lengthy review that I wrote back in 2013 after suffered through that filth. And I did a video on it just a couple of months back where I read the whole review and added to it and nuanced it out what I was truly thinking about all that stuff. So if you want to suffer through that, it's a lot. It took me so long to read, and all I did was read the review and add a few things, and it took a long time because I had a lot to say about it. But we can't do that tonight because we will be here for like 8 hours.
And you're go figure. You're talking to the guy who would talk about it for a few hours because I have had debates for years because once again that's what gentlemen like you and I do. We fight and we defend or offend on these topics. Man of Steel, I mean, I don't hate it, but there are many things about the movie that I hate. Like, I love the music. I love the idea of the casting. I don't fault Henry Cavill.
I love Henry Cavill. I just hate everything else in it. I don't even hate... Look, I don't even hate Zack Snyder as a person, although he kind of screwed a lot of us over with the Watchmen film. But I just hate his take. He should not have been put on a character called Superman, especially when you're up front saying you don't love the character, you don't care about the character, and you think he's kind of dopey, and then they let you direct the movie. That's on Nolan. But again, man, I would just it would take. I mean, it grinds my gears so much that I just explode, about it. So I can't do it. I mean, but we both know where we stand on it. But yeah, I mean, man,
well,
it would just.
Here's the thing with that issue, like, and the Dark Knight, once again, for better or for worse, they had the Watchmen effect. Whereas when the Dark Knight came on in 2008, like, Warner Bros. Saw the success of this movie and said, every movie needs to be like this now. Everything needs to be gritty and rooted in reality. And when you say those things, that is the complete opposite of what Superman embodies. So they wanted to get as close to that as they could, and obviously that's impossible for a guy who has godlike powers. So they decided, well, let's just make Superman act like Bruce Wayne / Batman. And if you read Zack Snyder's dialogue or listen to it, like, I guess it's like an audiobook format, it almost sounds like it's one character speaking the entire movie because every character acts the same. They're all somber. They're all lifeless. They all just hate who they are. Like, Zack Snyder writes one character, or his writers, I should say, to be fair.
David S. Goyer, the idiot. Yeah.
David S. Goyer writes one character. And that one character, that one voice happens to spawn over into 5 or 6, maybe 12 different people the entire movie. But they're all somber and they all act the same. It's like, if you listen to it on an audiobook, you go swear it was just one character the entire time. Like, when I saw Batman v Superman in theaters, I was just like, oh my god. Like, once again, I probably should stop now. But
well, you want to see what Batman vs. Superman should have been like?
Sure.
There you go. It should have been a Thanksgiving film like this. I'm thankful for my superpowers. Fuck you. It should be just like a big fuck you between Batmans.
It should have been. Well, here's the thing.
But in all seriousness, good.
Because Batman's more popular, of course they were going to let him get a pull on Superman. Whether you like Batman or not, if you took the kryptonite out of the factor, I do too. I've been buying and reading Batman for a decade or two. But whether you love him or not, if you took the kryptonite equation, there's no way he stands a chance against Superman.
Well, yeah, I mean, he has to cheat, but that's not really cheating because Superman has a big advantage. It's not cheating. But I'll tell you what will cheer me up. Let's see, to soothe my nerves from getting a blood pressure attack after thinking about Man of Steel, let's look at some toys. Toys, everyone, toys. My Legion of Superhero toys.
Dude, wow.
It calms my nerves to see toys. And look, you can see Adam West in there, too. So you can see Adam West in there, too, if you look close enough.
Oh, I see the crypto. Oh
my God. Yeah, that's my Legion Maddie collector set, and the DC Direct ones, and of course the PC feed, the Superboy Smallville PC PVCs, rather, and a bunch of various Legion figures there, just because it makes me feel better to see that.
No, that should, man. That's a beautiful that's heroes, man. That's heroes. Wow, that's a beautiful sight to see. That reminds me when I think of crypto, because when DC did their rebirth a few years ago, one of the great series that they actually put out was Super Sons, where they actually had Clark be married to Lois, and they had his son John be friends with Damian Wayne, and they were their own like team called the Super Sons, and it was actually an awesome book. And it didn't try to reinvent the wheel, try to pull a stunt that would make the newspaper the next day. It was kids trying to be heroes like their fathers and thinking that they could be clever and naive like teenagers do. And it was a great book. And there's omnibus collections of it, but it was one of the books, like, I guess you could say, more modern DC did right. And you had it from a writer who cared about characters being heroes. Even Peter Tomasi, even with his Superman run before Bendis took over and
ruined it. Yeah, I didn't read that. Say I didn't read that run because it's modern DC, but a lot of my friends did agree exactly with you that they really like that series. So I believe it's good, and I also believe it's good because I've read a lot of stuff by Tomasi before, and he's been a good. I've liked this work since the '90s. He's a really good writer. So I absolutely believe you that. And I can't stand Damian, but I mean, to your point. I've heard that is a really good comic. So
yeah, and I can't stand Damian either. That's funny you said. This is the first book where it took Tomasi to be writing Damian, where I can actually accept him. So
I can believe it.
Leave it to Tomasi. He's one of those guys where he could take a character I couldn't stand, and somehow I'm like, wow, I'm accepting Damian. How?
In the late aughts, before they started ruining everything, a little bit before the Screw 52, he did a really good run on Nightwing, and of course he's done a lot of other stuff.
Oh, I love
Green
that
Lantern
Nightwing
Corps.
Run. Yeah,
I
love the Green
Lantern Corps.
Yeah.
Good writer.
It was coinciding with Jeff Johns was doing his book with EVS. Oh, such a
well, let me tell you something. Anybody who can write a comic book with Kyle Rayner in it and make me not want to throw up all over myself because I hate him is a good writer, and Tomasi did that. Even though it wasn't as exclusively Rayner's book, he had Guy Gardner in it with him and things like that. That was a good comic, and I can't stand Kyle Rayner.
I'm glad you mentioned Kyle Rayner because one of my buddies who I got to actually read comics who never read, he actually started reading the Jeff Johns Green Lantern run. He said to me, he's like, you know what? He's actually pretty far. He's like, you know what? I feel like Ryan Reynolds would have been a better Guy Gardner than Hal Jordan. And when I thought about that for that movie, I'm like, you know what? I can actually see that. He would have been a better Guy Gardner than a Hal Jordan. With Ryan Reynolds' attitude, that would make more sense.
As bad as that movie is, in my opinion, to me, Reynolds isn't the problem, though. I mean,
no,
I think he also could have been good. I mean,
he's not the problem. Good. I mean, the fact that they gave an entire CGI suit, was that really necessary? No.
No, it was crap. But I mean, yeah. So anyway, what can I tell you? It's a lot of bad stuff out there. We're not getting anything good. The thing is, people find good old stuff to read and buy. I mean, that's just what you got to do. I mean, that's just, you got to find. I mean, I'm not saying, like I say, I'm sure a lot of people do like some current things. I can't really get into. For example, a friend of mine who still won't let it go, won't let going to the comic shop go, even though he hates most of the new stuff.
I know many guys like that. So preach it.
Oh yeah, and he's way older than me. And he liked the new Juggernaut series. that just
Okay,
came out.
yeah, that's the
He
one
said
with
that was
Ron
good.
Garney on the art.
But
Yeah.
and of course it's Ron Garney, and I love Ron Garney. So, but it's still, I still don't want to. I just don't want to buy a new Marvel book. But yeah, he said, and I don't like Fabian Nicieza that much either. But he said it's good. So yeah, I mean, so yeah, once in a while something good could still sneak through here and there, I guess.
Yeah, every now and then, like, I'll tell you what I do enjoy nowadays, I enjoy a lot Chip Zdarsky. If you heard it, he's writing Daredevil. He's been doing it now for 24 issues. Bought it today. And he's actually, if I've noticed one consistent pattern with writers dating back to at least 98, maybe further back, when a writer ends his Daredevil run, they always end their run by putting Matt Murdock in the worst position possible. And prior to Zdarsky, Soul put him in a position where he was in a coma. And now Zdarsky's run has been, Matt Murdock coming back from being in a coma. And he treats Daredevil as a character who's a hero, but he's also very conflicted and tormented. And he's also really given Kingpin a really great story arc as well. And the art is actually amazing. Like, Marco Cicchetto has actually done art that actually looks like it was not done in 5 minutes, which helps. And there's also even the side characters you invest into. Like, there's this one character, his name's Detective Cole North. He's a Chicago police officer that had issues in Chicago, which sounds about right in Chicago, that who got transferred to the kitchen in Hell's Kitchen, and now he's learned to deal with a world of heroes. So it's a great, the Daredevil run's great, and he's got, obviously there's a handful of trades out right now, and Chip Zdarsky actually is focusing on character moments, and there's, once again, it feels like he's trying to lead to a big Daredevil Kingpin like moment, and Wilson Fisk has been the mayor of this story for not just during Zdarsky's run, but preceding him. Because nowadays it seems like a lot of writers, like in the modern times, they like to put their toys back in the box and then let the next writer start fresh. Was the current writer just took the ideas of the previous writer and kept the story going, but then put his own touch on it while still keeping what was previously going, without undoing it, which I love. I appreciate that. Eric Powell's Lagoon is still a fun read. I've not read the new run, but I read the old run, and that shit was good. I agree on the old shit. I gotta read the new shit. I want to read the new shit. But I like the Goon.
Well, by the way, Matthew Anderson, thank you for stopping in. I absolutely agree with that. There were a lot of great old Dark Horse Star Wars comics, a lot of good stuff. I've heard that about Stargirl, Mark with a C. I intend to try to check it out soon, because I'm not big on CW stuff. I got sick of some of that stuff, but I hear that's good for the time being. We'll have to see. And see, Eric Powell, I got to give him some credit. TDS is a terrible thing, but if you keep it out of your work, that's all I will care about as well.
And that's fine too.
But with Zdarsky, I can believe you what you're saying there on Daredevil, because I did a few years back when he did the Marvel 2-in-1
That was good.
I bought it. Now, I thought after a while I got kind of tired of what he was doing with it, but I thought some of it was okay. I could see where the guy can write. I didn't like, and again, it was just trying to be a comic. It wasn't trying to preach, so that was good. I just thought it had some really crappy artists on it. Some really terrible art after a while.
Some terrible artists on it.
But I did buy that.
First artist, Jim Chung, he's basically just John Romita Jr. more defined. That's Jim Chung, which is fine. Every artist has their influences. But no, at least Chip Zdarsky actually respects characters, and in his Twitter, thank you, Marksy. He should have been the writer.
I agree with that.
Thank you.
I absolutely agree with that. They should have found a good artist too, because FF never got in that new run. They got Slott was an idiot anyway. I couldn't stand it. Should have been called the Fantastic 44, and the art sucked donkeys. So I would have. I think it certainly would have been better if Zdarsky, or however you say his name, would have done it. Yeah.
Zdarsky was also working with what he had, because during the whole Marvel continuity at the time when he was writing 2-in-1, he had the Thing and the Human Torch whereas Reed and Sue were off with their family in space from the aftermath of Secret Wars, doing who knows what. I didn't really give a shit personally.
Well, they thought they were dead. Remember?
Yeah, they thought they were, and I always knew that was bullshit. And it was one of those things where it's just like I put it in the back of my head. And when Zdarsky bought this book, I'm like, I was one of those things where I only checked it out because I was aching for something with the Torch being a main character. And I'm like, oh hey, this actually isn't bad. And like I like the first few issues that Jim Chung did, and after that, like the art started getting like, Paco Medina, like he's not as bad as like the New Warriors guy who was going to do that book that never came out. But it was still not passable.
No, yeah. Kibbles and bits.
Yeah. Kibble Smith.
Kibbles and bits, yeah.
Kibble Smith. So
yeah.
2-1, it was not bad, but though overall, like, with a good consistent artist, or even at least more times than not, would I have continued reading? Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, at least with Daredevil, he has his artists do complete arcs. I will give him that. And if he doesn't have to do complete arcs, because it's like an 8 to 10 issue arc where the main artist does the bulk of the art. And if the film artist is doing like 1 or 2 issues, that's fine, because usually he gets a quality artist anyway for the fill-in. And there's still like at least the colorist stays the same. Once again, there's at least some consistency. The color stays the same. So it's like, okay, so there's still a bit of a familiarity look. Because I feel like that is important in the comic. Because if it reads like a completely different comic where not only does the penciler change, but the colors changes, it ruins the flow. At least he kept the colorist. So I'm like, okay, I can deal with that. And once again, and the story, once again, he really cared about the story. And especially in a day and age where everyone is anti-cop, and not to get into that whole debate, but he actually wrote a cop who came from a world of corrupt cops who wants to do the right thing. I respect that. He took a position that is not common, especially in current Marvel world. That's not common, and he took that position. I respect that.
Yeah, well, there you go. I hear, like I said, I can believe it. I mean, he's shown some talent. And again, how inequality at all is escaping Marvel or DC right now, I guess, should be lauded, if anything, But I don't know. I mean, like I said, it's nice to see a guy like Ron Garney get some work. So how long that'll last, I don't know. And I love Daredevil, so I'm glad to hear it's good, and then that's a good thing. So I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to go back to getting any of the new stuff, though. I don't know.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you if you don't. You came from a golden age, literally, no pun intended.
I'm not that old. I was born in the Silver Age, so I guess I am that old. But I was a Bronze Age baby, as we say, which means basically that riding your bicycle to the corner 7-Eleven, pulling them off the spinner rack, and saving just enough of your grass cut money to get a few comics at 20, and then later 25 cents, and getting the candy bar or Hostess fruit pie and a Slurpee a Slurpee and a superhero cup. Yeah, Slurpees and superhero cups. I love the superhero cups that they had at 7-Eleven. And yeah, so the dims were the days, when you had to make a choice. You only had so much in your pocket, and you go, what do I want? Do I want Fantastic Four? Do I want Avengers? Do I want Spider-Man? It was tough for me because I'm one of those weirdos that love both Marvel and DC. I never got into the whole. Someone will say, okay, let me ask you this. Okay, go ahead. Marvel or DC? Really? But people do ask that, and there are people who do, swing one way, if you will, or don't really like one else. But see, my gateway drug for comic books and comic book characters and superheroes in general was the Adam West Batman TV show when I was less than 2 years old. That was on the air. Brand new on the air, by the way. So, again, how old I am. And it was the first word I could say was Batman because of that. So it's Adam West and Batman that got me started. And then, I saw cartoons. I didn't know what a comic book was. A kid that young doesn't know what a comic book is. Oh. I was seeing it on television. So I didn't know what a Marvel or DC comics were. I just knew I loved superheroes. I loved Batman. I loved the Fantastic Four cartoon, the Superman cartoons, then Super Friends, Spider-Man. Fell in love with them all before I knew what a comic book was.
Oh yeah, dude,
So
preach it, man. That's true. With Adam West Batman, seeing that feature film and seeing all the colorful suits and like the ridiculous bam, pow, fasage. I just made that one up. Just an example, but it's just like it just like it brought us in. Like we're like, man, I love how ridiculous that is,
I
and
love that
but
show.
yeah, it's such a good show, and that voice I can still hear the Adam West and Burt Ward voices in my
Little bat
head.
poles, little bat poles. Well, when I
Little
met
Buck-
him, when I met him finally in the early '80s, he and Burt Ward were in costume, and
Oh,
I
what?
don't have the tape anymore. A friend of mine might still have it, but I got him to talk on tape for me. And I asked him to say a couple things. And of course, I said, "Would you say something for me?" And he said, "Little bat bulls, Robin." He's got that voice. I can't do it, but I met
Okay.
him a
I
couple
can
times. That's
hear
my
it.
hero, man. Yeah, look, I have a pantheon of heroes as far as GEEKNESS is concerned. He is one of them. When Adam West passed a couple of years back, man, I took it tough.
Oh, I did too. Oh,
Met him a
I
couple
felt
times.
the hurt, man. We're on
Yeah.
the same ship. We're both on the Titanic together. We're fucking Leonardo DiCaprio, Kate Winslet, and we're feeling the hurt from that shit, brother.
Oh man, that's why I don't know how I'm going to be able to take it when Shatner finally kicks. He's not allowed to die.
Oh,
I don't need that in my life.
I'm glad you mentioned Shatner because he's one of the things where his Twitter is actually fun to see because he sticks it to people when
I love
he needs
Shatner.
to, and he does not take the shit at all. And I'm like, I love you, Shatner. And
Love me some Shatner.
And he like him along with people like Robert Meyer Burnett, they're against what Nerd Riley likes to call fake Trek. Like they don't like it,
Yes.
and especially even more so coming from an insider like Burnett, who's a literal direct Hollywood insider, saying, "Dude, what the hell is this?" Like, and it's just showing it's not just outsiders. There are insiders too who are just like, "Bro, what the hell is this, man?" Like I'm mildly knowledgeable on Star Trek, but I've tried watching because my girlfriend is more of like a Trekkie, and she like hates new Trek, fake Trek, whatever you want to call it, and I've tried to watch it with her, and I can't finish it, bro. I'm just like I tell her parents, I'm like, you got better patience than I do. They suffer the Picard season. I couldn't manage an episode, so you're all better than I am.
I can't watch that filth. I mean, to me, Star Trek, like Doctor Who, like Star Wars, has an expiration date. Star Trek is 1966 to 2005. It's Doctor Who's 1963 to 2013 for me. Star Wars is 1977 to 2015. So screw all that stuff. Did something happen to Mark with a C? What happened out there, guys? Oh, there he is, Mark with a C. There you are.
STD.
Yeah. STD is terrible. So
no one needs an STD. Unlike my buddy Jake D, we say on stream, no one needs an STD.
Good old Jake D. Yeah. Wasn't he streaming? Did he stream tonight or no?
He did an afternoon stream on
that's right.
Channel. I appeared for like 5 minutes, but my connection was so shoddy. Like, for me to continue was just like pointless. So I just like stepped away quietly because like I was at work, and when I'm at work, like. On a connection on my headphones. I wanted to see what it was like because I really wanted to get on to like on my 15-minute break, but it backfired. I learned my lesson. I'm not doing it again.
Gotta love those guys. Polly's a great buddy of mine. I love Polly. He's fantastic over at Latino Slant. By the way, anybody, a lot of great channels. I have links to descriptions below here. So, and Polly's one of them. Latino Slant and Jake D. Some great, and Noel with the TARDIS on. I was on today with Noel at the TARDIS Zone. He's a cool dude, and they were doing their Mandalorian show today. Let's see here.
Clobberin Times. I've read that.
And that's before Grimoire by Garney.
I'm a fan.
I have not picked that. That's older, isn't it?
Depends on what you're calling older. It was like 2008, 2009.
Yeah, a good while back. Yeah. I've seen it. I've never picked it up, Mark. See, I've always kind of meant Mark with a C. Sorry, I've always meant to though. I should pick it up. Is what you're saying? Garney wrote it, or who wrote it?
I can't remember if he wrote it, but I remember there was that. That was one of the few books Scott Snyder did for Marvel because he did Iron Man Noir. Yeah, he did Iron Man Noir. Can you imagine that? Mm-hmm. And then there was Spider-Man Noir, and I'm a sucker for anything from the era. When I watch movies like The Untouchables, shit like that. I'm a sucker for that era. So when I'm like, oh hey, Marvel shit based out of that area, I got it at least. And usually I get past the gimmicks like Marvel India, Marvel Civil War 900. But the noir thing, like that kind of like, you know what? I want to check that shit out. And of course I dug Spider-Man Noir. I mean the guy with a coat and the trench coat and the jacket, and it was one of the rare moments where Peter Parker had a gun, and they called him the Spider-Man, and he had more of like a detective thing going on.
Came out this year.
What?
Fantastic Fair and the War he's talking about. Okay, I thought I saw that at the shop not too long ago.
I remember 2008, 2009. Maybe he knows something that I don't. I know if he does, good for him, because
I got you.
Googling that shit right now because that's gonna be one of my Amazon.
Oh, there you go. I got you, Mark C. I think I saw that you mentioned that. Yeah, shit happens, brother. By the way, Mark C. What's a good time for Saturday night for us to do a comic book convab thing? You let me know what time works for you. I was thinking fairly early, 6 o'clock or whatever. But if you want to go later, fine. If you can't make it, that's always cool as well because it is a holiday weekend. But just let me know, brother, and we will work it out. We'll just do we'll do some comics talks similar to what my new buddy here, Nick, and I are doing, of course. Mark C and I've done many shows together. Nick, we did. Let's see, we did our all-time favorite, top 25 favorite comic artists list, countdown, which we enjoyed. We both love. He's a great. I love comic book art, of course, and comic artists. Yeah. But he does too, but he's actually a great artist himself in his own way. Mark C's an excellent artist. What? Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's great. And we've done, what else? We've done our favorite comic book covers. We've done that a while back. That was fun.
Oh, that's real fun. Oh,
we enjoyed that. And shit, dwindling it down to 25 when we both loved comics for so long and there are bazillions of great covers. Wow, it was just, but it was fun though.
That's hell. Yeah, it's fun, but hell.
The artist list was relatively much easier, but the 25 comic covers out of the thousands of them I could put on there, man, that was like, boy, that wasn't smart of me. And listen, we did comic book movie adaptations. I mean, back in, I don't know if you're familiar, but remember when summer blockbuster movies actually had comic books adaptations of them?
Yep.
You've seen them. And it's kind of almost like a thing of the past. We haven't seen it a whole lot lately. We did a show about that. And 6 p.m.'s cool. That's good. And the week after that, my good buddy of mine is going to be joining me. My buddy Wes will be joining me. We're going to do a show about our treasury editions and tabloid editions, the old big oversized comic things from the mainly 70s. But it was, he's the ultimate treasury tabloid collector. He has most of them. And he has all of them. Excuse me. I have a pretty good collection, but his is just extraordinary. So. Okay, 6 p.m. works for you. That's good. Let's see here. Good news, guys. Delphine is back on YouTube. Thought I'd pass it on. I've heard some things about that controversy, Sarah, from Nexus.
Hold up. Go back down.
Oh, just kidding, by the way.
Ah.
Okay,
right.
Just kidding.
Mark with a C sounds like
you got me.
This Mark with a C sounds like we need to get us all together, in this comic away chat. That sounds like we get both of the Mark C and Mark with the C. Seems like we could have a good comic chat that could go all night. No.
Yes, they could have a duel. They could who gets to take the C. It'll be a fight over the C. So I have heard. I don't really know much about was it Delphine? But I've heard about that controversy a little bit. So. That's a damn shame. Well, then I'm sorry it didn't happen. I'm sorry you were just kidding, man. I feel bad that anybody loses their channel like that. It's ridiculous. YouTube.
It's really sad. Especially It's one thing when you have like the rules as the rule, but the biggest issue is the inconsistency of the rules. It's like, well, you can act this way or that way as long as you have the right political thoughts. But if so and so does the same exact behavior, but they have the political thoughts we want, then it's okay. And that's where it's a giant inconsistency. So, not to try and make this into a political talk, but that's definitely the problem. Once again,
That's right.
YouTube is playing
I
the
hear you.
whole Facebook and Twitter. Are you a publisher or are you a platform? But once again, that's a whole other talk for maybe another day.
Oh yeah. Then again, it is fodder for endless talk. As a matter of fact, no, that's right. Yeah, he's got. I don't know if you're familiar with the IDW artist editions. He's got tons of those things. I only have a couple. Those are wonderful. Are you familiar with those?
I've not seen them.
They're well, you know how comic books original art is really big on big pages, and they draw comic books on big pages and stuff,
Yes.
and then they go to the printer and well, anyway, artist editions, they take the work of certain great artists over the course of comics history, and they make these big, gigantic, and I mean gigantic, huge books, reprinting whole issues of the work and such, with multiple issues, in fact, of the particular artist, and in that form, to look in the original art form. In other words, still in the big black and white page that gets brought to the publisher before it's colored or anything, and it's beautiful. And they're not cheap, but they are really great stuff. And he has a remarkable collection of those, Mark. Remarkable.
I want to see what he's got. I want to see what he's got. He's got me all colored and curious, man.
They're great stuff. Like I say, I only have a couple. I only have a couple of the Kirby ones, but they're great stuff. So and they've done, most of your great artists. Most of the greats have had one done, or a lot of them have done. Like there's a big Ramita Spider-Man one, I believe. I don't know. He probably has that one. I think, didn't you show me you had a Ramita Spider-Man one now, dude? Mark, maybe you did. I want to say that was you, but anyway, I tell you what, man. Well, we've almost hit the 2 mark, and we have Thanksgiving coming up tomorrow, and we got big. I hope you and your family will be celebrating it. And not letting anyone tell you not to tomorrow.
Oh, dude, we're gonna. It's gonna be business as usual, my friend. I mean, me, my girlfriend, my children. We're gonna be hanging out with one of my friends of 15 years. She's got a daughter. We're gonna get together. We're gonna eat a lot of food. We're gonna be loud. Fuck you, Gavin Newsom.
Fuck Gavin Newsom.
Thank you.
fuck all those mayors and governors.
Right? We're gonna be loud. I'm gonna sing my ass off, and there might be some alcohol involved. Nothing against strangers. I respect strangers. It's more of just the point that I'm doubling down on my stance, especially with the 99% survival rate. I'm gonna enjoy my Thanksgiving. I'm gonna eat turkey. There's gonna be mashed potatoes, cranberry, corn. I want all the butter. I want all the gluten. I want all the calcium.
There you go.
Yeah, you give me all that unhealthy shit, and I'll have the food coma of death, and then I will wake up right on time for Latino Slants, X-Flix, and Chill tomorrow evening, because we're doing. Yeah, I'll be on that. So I don't know if you watch X-Files 90, but I do weekly with Slant. We do the X-Files watch, and we're doing a little extra guests, more guests than usual this time around. And we got
nice.
Valkyrie, Fat Steven Seagal, and a few others, if memory serves correct. And we're going to do 2 episodes. That's going to be at 10 or 11 tomorrow night. So what's left of my body after all that food. I love this photo, by the way. Thank you for sharing this. This just makes me lust in greatness. It's making me wish that to the right of Bangor would be Alicia Masters. Wishful thinking.
Yes, it should be. Yeah, but that's
right,
at least Aunt Petunia's there. Maybe Alicia is off camera. But yeah, well, I will try to show up there. Again, I love Paulie. And again, I haven't been doing the watch parties of X-Files with him. I do like X-Files. I have not caught up to it, but I will definitely go in and try to wrench for him. I was so mad at myself today. I just never know when he yeah, he did this stream today, and I totally whiffed on. I guess I forgot, didn't know he was doing it. And my buddy Noel didn't have any panelists for his Mandalorian show, and I went on with him. And then I find out, I'll just start kind of looking around. I realized that Paulie's on. I said, oh my God, I got in there at the last minute. I felt really terrible about it. I told him, it's just me being a dumbass forgetting things. But, I want to wish everyone a wonderful Thanksgiving. Oh, man, dude, Mark, with the sea, you're killing me. If I don't get any fried turkey tomorrow, I'm going to be upset. Fried turkey is the best.
Deep fried turkey. I love deep fried turkey. Man, I want it right now. Screw waiting 12 hours, bro. I'm throwing my keyboard. I want some deep fried turkey right now.
My brother makes it. He better have some tomorrow. I'm going to have to mess him up. And yeah, so I love me some deep fried turkey. Let's see here. X-Files. Yep, Latino Slant, everyone. If you are an X-Files fan and you like watch parties, he does them on Thursday nights. I realize tomorrow night's the holiday night, but he does them every Thursday night. He's got a big one for tomorrow night planned, and that is just so damn cool. Artist editions reprint the original art pages at actual size. Thank you for as close to owning the pages as I can afford. Yeah, I only have 2 pieces of original art, and of course, original art now is just outrageously expensive. And what that means again is an original page that the artist drew the comic book on and then sent it to the printer. I have a Jack Kirby page. And I have a Kurt Schaffenberger page, and that's the only 2 I can. And back then when I got them, I bought one off of Jack Kirby. I bought the other one from Julius Schwartz. So other than those, I can't afford original art. Nobody can. Bill Gates can't afford it. So yeah, but it's great stuff though. So that's why I love the artist editions. Let's see here. We'll explain in detail the problems of the Dems if the relatives come over. Sarah from Nexus. I appreciate you being here. It's great to meet you, my friend, and you have been a delight, and you've been hilarious, man. And make a list. Yes, let's put people on a list, buddy. And the only thing I disagree with is eat responsibly. No way. I never do anyway, but yeah, I hear you, man. Try not to eat too responsibly if you can. I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight with us, and especially my fantastic new friend, 32 Flavors of. That's your name, actually. By the way, 32 flavors, just like ice cream. But there aren't 32 flavors of you, right? There's just one of you.
There is. Well, the whole gist with the name is there is a deeper meaning. It's more sure. I cover a different variety of topics. I got you. My food stuff. I have my comic stuff. I have my movie, pop culture, yada yada. Every now and then I'll have a personal rant. Every now and then it'll be a social thing. There is 32 Flavors is for the variety of topics I cover. So, and hey, thank you for having me on. It's been awesome to chat comics and pick your brain apart. And it's also awesome to see the chat going off and responding to our comments.
Yes.
Clearly we got people listening. So that's the ultimate cool. I'm like, yeah, people are listening. Hell yeah.
We have a fabulous chat. I want to talk to my chat for a minute to thank them so much. We're talking about being thankful. Well, right now I am thankful for, of course, I'm very thankful to be good buddies with the great Lord Doomcock, who retweeted this for us tonight. He didn't have to do that. It's a busy man.
Thank you, Doomcock.
Yes, Doomcock rocks. It's a busy job, a busy, thankless, arduous job becoming ruler of the earth, and he does it well. Thank you, my good friend Lord Doomcock, buddy. Seriously, and you're probably not hearing this now, but if you do, I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving tomorrow, my friend. I'll be at your whatever stream you do tomorrow night. I'm going to definitely try to be there for that. I want to thank the great Eric K., my good friend, sir. I hope you have
Eric K.
I hope, sir, you have a wonderful Eric K., a wonderful Thanksgiving, sir, my friend. You've been just such a great pal to me here. Matthew Anderson, a new buddy who's popped in. Matthew, thank you so much for being here. It is great, always great when we have new friends coming in, just like our new friend, Sarah from Nexus. Thank you again. My great buddy, Mark C., and many times co-host, who will be co-hosting again with me Saturday night, everyone. We'll be doing it at 6 p.m. CST. And, yes, he is. Let's see, Mark with a C is also here. Thank you so much, Mark with a C, for being here, my friend. Who else was here? Eastland Burkholder, if you're still out there, my good buddy, thank you for being here. I always end up probably forgetting somebody who maybe was in earlier or maybe lurked or whatever. So if I'm missing anyone, or forgetting anyone, unless you can think of some of them, of them, Eric, or you, Nick, if you can think of anybody I missed. Other than that, I'm looking back just to make sure I didn't forget anyone. If I did, look, I'm old, man. I'm older than almost all of you. I'm probably even older than Eric. I might be older than Eric. I don't know. Am I older than you, Eric? I probably am. But you guys are all great. You singing?
Between the Mark C's and the Eric K's and the Seraphims, I appreciate, and I know Clobberin Times does, the consistency and you guys being here and sticking around and listening to this chat. So obviously, one of us, hopefully both of us, said something that was worth a word or two to be able to invest in your time. So thank you to listening to us. Like, I mean, you're listening to the great words of Clobberin Times, and you're surviving my words at best. So.
No, you've been fantastic, man. I will have you on anytime, buddy. I really appreciate you.
I appreciate you. I can't wait to talk more. Like I feel like this chat is gonna be the first of many chats. I think we're at some very interesting chats down the line.
Oh, absolutely, dude. Yeah,
also. Random plug, youtube.com/Nick's Toxic Waltz, or if you just type in the username 32 Flavors of Nick Weiser. I talk food, I talk music, particularly in the metal vein. I talk comics, I talk movies, shows. So I tackle a variety of things. If you like a variety of topics, I'm a go-to guy. And
there's your link right there in the chat. Put the link in there, buddy.
Thank you, sir. I come out swinging, kind of like a Dave Portnoy, Barstool Sports type of guy. So be ready for that. I'm kind of in your face about the things, but I stand by my convictions. And if you're watching this, if you haven't subscribed to Clobberin Times, what the hell are you waiting for, man? The guy's he's closing in on 200.
Closing in.
Let's get him there today in the next 24 hours. What do you say to that shit, guys? All right, let's get him to 200, all right?
Thanks, buddy.
That shit, let's spread that shit worse than the beer bug itself.
I appreciate that, man. Everyone, if you have not subbed to my new buddy, 32 Flavors of Nick Weiser, I've just put a link in the chat there, and I will after this from now on, I'll have it in my description below for everyone. But in the meantime, got one in the chat right there. And if you have not, please. I like that when you're in the chat, you can do that, and it doesn't take you out of the chat. As opposed to if you go in the description below and follow one, it takes you off the page on YouTube. I don't know. I've noticed, but that one, I think they can do that. Oh, and there, Eric K put it. Thank you, Eric, my good friend. So please subscribe to my good buddy Eric, of course.
Oh, subscribe to him anyways, too. That's
yeah, subscribe to Eric. Please subscribe to Eric. I mean, I don't even know if Eric has a channel. Man, is so busy.
He's a thankless hero. So
he is a great hero. Eric K., you are the man, my friend. Again, thank you all so much. We'll be back here on Saturday night with the great Mark C. to talk some comics again. And I will have my good buddy Nick back on soon, and maybe many others. Who knows? But I will have him on there. Have a happy Thanksgiving, Nick, and a happy Thanksgiving to you all. And I'm going to play this great outro. Also wishing a happy Thanksgiving to all my great friends in Valhalla, the beautiful Purple Valkyrie, and Samantha Joe, the other wonderful Valkyrie. My great buddy Latino Slant, Paulie, Fat Steven Seagal, another great buddy, 24/7. Got all the links in the chat below there, in the description below. All those great friends. And thank you, as always. I'm thankful to the great Stone Roki, my good pal, the master of Valhalla, for making this intro outro for me. Good night, everyone.
Good night.